once in that season, so it's going to be their debut. And can they come out with a bang here? That is what we're going to find out very shortly. Dragonshire, of course, caters exactly towards the strengths of SPT, who are said to be the strongest team in China in terms of macro play, rotations, how they utilize the map objectives, how they prioritize them. And we saw a couple of cool strategies coming out by them yesterday. The heavy and early focus on those newly reworked night camps, providing a 15 spell armor aura around everybody in the vicinity of the wizard mercenary, and SPT used that to great effect to really push those objectives early on. They destroyed towers and even the fort early on yesterday on Dragonshire. And let's see if BTG actually did their homework and if they have a remedy against that very pushy, aggressive early playstyle. Now, Genji and Greymane already out of the mix, and Sonya is being secured immediately. No heavy focus on Hanzo like the other major regions up to this point. Although we see a lot of Hanzo still, because China too know that this hero is very, very strong at the moment. And with Genji in the mix, or no longer in the mix, I should say, it is actually a good time and moment to pick said Hanzo, because ironically, the Shimada brother of Hanzo, Genji, is one of the greatest counters available to deal with a Japanese archer. But we have seen other heroes actually do really, really well against Hanzo as well, as long as they're mobile, as long as they're engagey and sticky, most importantly, so they can follow Hanzo even if he dashes over terrain. So Tracer, not really too bad of a choice there. Illidan, we saw a little bit of Illidan here in China as well, and you gotta know that China likes to play their Illidan way more than any other region in the world, so it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a couple of that today. Now, Uther being prioritized immediately, first pick, and Hanzo, there he is. Now, Sonya could go for the leap to really lock down the squishy backliner Hanzo. However, Uther is so good at protecting him as well. He offers probably the strongest single target burst healing in the game, followed by strong protection in general thanks to his divine shield. So let's see what they can dish out. By the way, I am not responsible for anything that happens to Tetcher. He is still safely locked in my basement. We're just gonna have to wait for him to make it back. Alright. Now, we're working hard on it. Especially Tetcher is working really hard on it. And I'm pretty sure by the end of this draft, or at the very latest by the end of this first game, we're gonna have him back. Too bad I can't even fake a British accent too well. Otherwise, I could at least pretend that some Britishness is here. Now, beyond the game, they're taking their sweet time to find other heroes in their roster. And you know what? I really, really like what they're doing here. BTG, they're relying on very solid, very reliable weapons like the ETC and the Lucio. We've seen ETCs dominate times and times again. And you know, as you can see, SPT, they're hovering over the Jaina ban. And Jaina, you gotta know, guys, if you weren't watching yesterday or the day before yesterday, China really likes their Jaina, and it has actually been doing really, really well for them. The Water Elemental is the go-to heroic choice at level 10, but even the Ring of Frost yesterday was doing admirably well for the team of Soa, where they demolished their opponents like there was no tomorrow. Falstad, though, I mean, if you want to take care of something in particular here on Dragonshire, you better take care of globals, especially if you don't plan on picking some anytime soon yourselves. Falstad, of course, probably one of the best heroes you could go for on Dragonshire. It's definitely one of his stronger maps, simply due to the way that he can control shrines thanks to his flight trait. Also a pretty stable laner overall, and thanks to the rotations as well. If you decide to go for Seasoned Marksman, you should be able to complete that relatively soon on Dragonshire, whereas on a map like War Junction, Volskaya Foundry, it would take a little bit longer simply due to the way the map works, the objectives work. So, what is the second ban going to be for on Dragonshire for Beyond the Game? Sorry, guys, I'm trying to multitask several things right now while we're trying to find a solution for Tetcher as well. And, yeah, what could be happening here? Oh, I just received word, by the way, that MJ is a substitute for Beyond the Game. So it could be the case that he isn't actually part of the regular roster anymore, but he just had to step in because maybe one of the original players wasn't feeling well or had other obligations. So it remains to be seen whether MJ is a permanent substitute player or just a temporary one. But since he played for them last season, I would actually say it is a permanent substitute. MJ, by the way, played a lot of support last phase to mixed success. I mean, he also was swapped out every now and then, so he's by no means a regular. Unfortunately, hopefully he's going to show up big time today against SPT, and that could help him in that regard. Now, both teams are taking extremely long, especially SPT. That is a little bit unusual because when they face a quote-unquote inferior team on paper, like Beyond the Game, they normally have a very set plan in mind all the time, and they're actually one of the fastest teams when it comes to locking in the heroes, but you can really see how they take things very seriously nonetheless. They respect every opponent, and with the Anubarak, they have a comfort pick for both of their main frontline players, Misaka and Soap, who really like to run Anubarak at times, and that's one of the cool things about the Super Perfect team in the first place. They have a very flexible roster. Misaka and Soap, they could swap heroes and roles at almost any given time and on almost any given hero. The Leoric here provides a very stable soul lane as well. Keep in mind that Leoric, although he hasn't really been that successful as compared to 2017, is still a staple to fall back on, especially when you lane against somebody like Sonya. It's a very skill-based matchup in that solo top lane. Mostly coming down to whether Sonya is able to dodge the Drain Hope or not. Oftentimes when you play against a Lyric as a solo Sonya in the lane matchup, going for block is a really strong choice because Lyric, although he hits very hard, he is also one of the slowest basic attack speeds in the game. So you're going to get a lot of value from your block because it's not going to get triggered so easily. In the meantime, we see Tychus go down against the rather low HP frontline. It is going to be interesting to see how much value his minigun is going to dish out, because neither Leoric nor Anubarak are, you know, the big health juicy tanks like a Diablo or Muradin, for instance. Tetra is now going to restart his PC, by the way, so he can fix all the problems that may occur. So he should be back in a couple of minutes, and we're then going to give the call another shot. Once again, we apologize for the inconvenience, guys. Now, the last pick remains to be seen here for SPT. The Li Ming, of course, is a nice flavor on top. Li Ming normally picked with Genji in the mix, so you can really capitalize on those double resets. However, she still remains a solid hero overall if, and that's a big if, you can manage to try to get some sneaky shots in from the sides. Because oftentimes Li Ming players who try to dish out the damage from right in front of the enemy team will oftentimes, you know, not succeed because the warriors like Anubarak could intercept most of their abilities, especially with those beetles. And it is really interesting to see the interaction here between Li Ming and Anubarak. We're not really seeing that too many times in 2018, but last year, for example, we had this long phase in the game where those heroes would cancel each other out. You know, the Cocoon could be shredded by the Disintegrate, but on the flip side, Anubarak could tank and intercept a lot of those abilities with the beetles or his own body. And thanks to the magic armor, of course, he takes reduced damage overall. Now, the Chromie coming in for SPT there, I think that could be the first Chromie we see live on camera, on stream for 2018 in HGC China. And that's a little bit weird, isn't it? Because Chromie is such a powerhouse in other regions. We're used to seeing her all the time. But China is a little bit hesitant when it comes to the little gnome dragon. So I'm really excited to see who's going to play it in the first place. The fact that Melody C is no longer tied to that second support role, because the double support has become kind of rare, is probably going to make me lean towards him. Although this guy on the camera right here, Zhen Zhao, he's a masterful assassin player. However, in the past he was known to be a little bit more, you know, narrowed down to the auto attackers, so the basic attack heroes like Vala, Zul'jin, for example. But maybe he stepped up his game, maybe he expanded his hero pool and is now a very capable mage player as well. Okay, Tetra is giving me a green light, so let's give it a shot.
Hello?
Oh, hello there, good sir. How's it going? I can hear you just fine. Say something real quick.
I can hear. I can see I'm broadcasting, but I can't hear you.
Alright, if you can't hear me, Tetcher, then I'm probably not going to be able to give you a fix, but let me type it to you. I can hear you. That's at least a little bit of progress. In the meantime, we're going to take a look at the teams here. BTG and SPT, they're going to fight their way through Dragonshire in game number 1. And a little bit of a skirmish is going down here. By the way, we saw a really good article on the Blizz Heroes Esports website about when you should take that level 1 skirmish in the middle and when you should probably fall back and be a little bit more reserved and passive. I think Michael Udall was helping there with the article, so shout out to him. And definitely recommend reading those articles. I can definitely recommend it, especially to the newer players who are trying to get a little bit better at the game and who are trying to step up and try to mimic what the pros on HGC are doing. Now let's give it another shot here. We're going to give another ring to my boy Tetcher.
Hello.
Hello there.
And I still can't hear you. What is happening?
It's all good. It's all good. Just let me know when you're ready. I mean, you can't hear this anyway. But we're going to focus on the game for now while Tetcher is trying to look for a solution here. Not really much has happened. Still no kills for either side. In the meantime, though, we see a lot of focus on those mercenary camps again. And this time, SPT, they actually switched things up by going for the siege giants first in the bottom rather than the knight camp at the top lane, which they did yesterday. Could this already be the first Dragonet of the game? Yes, it can! A beautiful time trap by Chromie preventing any interrupts that could come on for BTG. Insanely well done here. And let's not get fooled though. The first Dragonet in the game usually doesn't really do that much, but it's still a nice thing to have. It gives you a nice morale boost, that's for sure. In the meantime, you can see BTG, they're not really respecting this early Dragonet by any means. They're actually pushing in the top lane with the help of the Knight camp, but only Lucio, only MJ is left in the middle to defend against it. And already you can see a lot of damage coming in. 3 heroes by BTG, plus the mercenaries, plus the minions, taking down the entire tower line. But can the Dragonet get a cheeky kick in? Yes, Sonya in the backline now. Sonya is a little bit hard to kill though, especially when there's no interrupts nearby, so they need to be a little bit careful. Chroming the Dragonet, once she gets kicked out of the Dragonet, she's a very vulnerable target. In the meantime, we see the supports duking it out here in the middle first with Lucio, and now Uther in the bottom lane against Li Ming. Let's see, MJ's getting a little bit cheeky here, using the movement speed that he has, and they take down Hanzo with combined efforts. Really well done here by the new player, MJ, who stepped in this playday. Really well done. Strong performance, strong showing already. Now, was this just a fluke, or is SPT coming back swinging? We're about to find out, but this is already a strong showing by the former top 3 seed Beyond the Game that, you know, has gained a lot of new fans here, both in and out of China with their showings at BlizzCon. While they weren't able to make it very far into the tournament, I think they still did a really good job at making the Chinese region proud overall. As a brand and upcoming team qualifying for big tournaments already in their first season of competitive play, that is definitely an admirable feat. In the meantime, BTG, it looks like they watched SPT yesterday very carefully and took a lesson out of their textbook. Is going for the next Knight camp in the bottom lane, and that could actually be a very scary push coming in here against SPT with the help of the Siege Giants and the Knight camp. No, I think they actually cancel it if you take a look at the minimap and how they move. Yeah, I think they cancel it. They were probably too afraid of getting creepjacked here. No, now they're finally back, and it just looked a little bit weird to see the minimap icons shuffle back and forth. But now here they come, and here they siege up, dancing under a little bit of problems here with Misaka going in, but not really committing because they realize they only have Melody C and Misaka. And you can see the beautiful focus by Melody C as well, really prioritizing shooting at the Wizard minion because only the Wizard minion is providing the 15 spell armor aura to nearby allies. Once that mercenary goes down, you're basically good to go and can deal full damage with abilities again. So, Zhen Zhao is on the Chromie, by the way. We talked about this earlier, that we weren't really sure which hero he would play. And there's Melody C on that Hanzo after all. So already cool to see that Zhen Zhao worked on one of his few weaknesses, which was the hero pool. And now in 2018, he's coming out swinging. Time Temporal Loop going down on Lucio. He takes the full combo. The stun is good by Misaka. And together, they blow him out of his socks here. Lucio is no more. MJ wasn't really that careful here, and only one misstep is all it takes against a Chromie due to the fact that she gains access to her heroic ability quicker than any other hero in the game. So the Temporal Loop against a Lucio team composition is the perfect weapon to punish any missteps, because Lucio, as one of the supports who doesn't have access to cleanse, is very susceptible to that burst damage in the first place. Now ZJZ, excuse me, is getting ganked by ZZH here. They take the stun as well. Leoric coming in with a Wraith Walk, but the Leech is strong. The Life Steal is too powerful on the spin to win, and they turn it around. MJ was there to save his buddy in trouble, and actually more reinforcements pouring in for Beyond the Game. They take down ZZH as well. Uther is not going to make it out alive, but by the same token, Druid is now under a lot of pressure. Anubarak, he doesn't really finish the job just yet, but the Hanzo arrow of doom over the wall, blind shot, well aimed, takes care of Li Ming and her shenanigans. Now, level 10 is around the corner for SPT. Which heroic abilities are they going to unleash? It's the Wraith Walk, it is the Dragon's Era, it is the, of course, Temporal Loop, Cocoon, and Divine Shield. So no major surprises here. Sometimes Leoric players likes to switch things up here by picking the Entomb. We actually saw great Entomb play the other day on the other regions, but in the meantime, BTG 619 is getting blown to pieces. Lucio couldn't even save him. Li Ming was too late to the party as well. You can see how quickly Disintegrate can deal with the Cocoon, but your timing, of course, needs to be on point as well. And that was just well executed by SPT, putting the support in the Cocoon so he couldn't help the target that was focused by Chromie and her allies, and Li Ming unfortunately being just a tiny weeny step too late to the party. So I'm gonna give Tetra another shot. In the meantime, we can see Soap on that Leoric using the March of the Black King, keeping himself alive. And I think they're turning this around against CJZ, though. Here is 619. Can he help out Leoric? Doesn't have the Wraith Walk anymore. He ends up falling as well. And it is now a dire situation for Misaka. He takes the cleanse by Uther, by ZZH, and Burrow charges over the wall here. The grenade is good. The knockback is even better. Divine Shield has to be used here to keep Uther safe. I'm not sure if he's going to make it out alive. The Cocoon helping big time. And here comes another hero that can actually deal with the Cocoon very, very nicely. It is Tychus. Due to his fast attack speed on his auto attacks, he can really shred those Cocoons like there was no tomorrow. There's a couple of heroes in the game who actually have this benefit of attacking very fast. In the meantime, though, Lucio dropping the preemptive sound barrier, surviving for now, but the stuns are too powerful. The Dragon's Arrow coming in, the counter mosh pit. How much can they achieve? Only Anubarak is taking a little bit of damage here by the Tychus. This is not the target you want to be focused on necessarily. And once again, a beautiful execution here by SPT. Only getting one kill. But however, that could be more than enough for them to secure another Dragon Knight. Because without Lucio, the entire team compositions for BTG is much more susceptible to getting killed. Melody C trying to slow down CCH, who's coming down to contest the bottom shrine with the help of Druid on that Li Ming as well, but they're too slow. Hanzo did a really good job at stalling it out and buying enough time for another Dragon Knight to be unleashed. Now the Dragon Knight is marching towards the top lane. In the meantime, we see a little bit of a different Lucio build here coming in for MJ, by the way. Not really relying on the Boombox, which is the go-to talent in most competitive scenarios these days, but he's going for the good old Party Mix, if I'm not mistaken. And Party Mix, of course, is an interesting talent. It requires you to... Never mind, it's not even Party Mix. I think it's... Wait a minute. As a Lucio main myself, I'm flubbergasted that he didn't go for either of those talents. Let me find out what this talent actually does. I'm gonna be bluntly honest with you guys. I have never played it myself. It's a Sonic Amplifier. We're gonna find out what this talent does in a bit though, because ETC is surrounded and outmatched by another Temporal Loop. And these Temporal Loops really are the bane, the crux of BTG. They don't really seem to have a countermeasure here available. Now, Sonic Amplifier, the talent we were talking about, is an interesting talent. It requires two allied heroes to be in the vicinity. And when that is the case, the radius of Amp It Up is increased by 50% for the duration. Now, it does have a little bit of a requirement that needs to be met. At least 2 other allied heroes need to be in the vicinity. If there's only one, then of course it won't work out. Lucio doesn't count here, by the way. So it's a little bit of an unreliable talent. That's the reason why Boombox is kind of preferred for the most part. Not only is Boombox adding a little bit of additional area for those speed boosts and healing boosts, but it's also a nice vision tool, and vision in the competitive scene is one of the most important utility tools you could possibly get. Meantime, Chromie is doing pretty okay on her Sandblast trait. Got 30, needs a couple more. And we see a very safe build by Zhenjiao on that Chromie in particular. We see the good old time stop at level 13. It's not really level 13 for Chromie, but you get the twist. Which is very, very useful, especially against potential engages by Sonya and ETC. Could also prevent a combo chain by Li Ming if timed very nicely. But SPT, they know exactly what Beyond the Game is up to. They have 5 members rallied. And I'm not sure if Beyond the Game should actually continue this fight. Looks like they're confident though. 16 is not yet here, so that is probably the main reason why SPT doesn't fully commit to intercepting and initiating a team fight. But here comes the damage on 619. Look at all that damage. Almost 50% of that cow health bar are gone. And Misaka, that is reason enough for him to go in with a cheeky bird charge. Can they do it? Another temporal loop going down. Interrupt here on Lucio. He couldn't cast the sound barrier because Cocoon was faster. Now the Tychus has been Odin has been unleashed. Leoric going in, no fear at all. 1 person goes down, 2 people go down for BTG, and this is exactly what SPT wants. Beautiful bird charge over the water by Misaka, cutting off the retreat path once more, and it is Tychus who ends up falling next. And look at that timing. It's getting from bad to worse here for BTG. Not only did they just lose 3 team members, not only are they not 16 yet, but they're also going to lose the Dragon Knight as it is. Look at that interrupt on Lucio now. The Cocoon, perfect timing here by by Misaka, excuse me. Really well done. And 619, it looks like he wasn't really aware of the fact that his Lucio support was no longer in the mix. So he still went and took a lot of damage, and it was all going downhill here for BTG because their team was split. So many people were dropping down low. The sound barrier, of course, goes on a 10-second cooldown once you get interrupted by any ability. So he couldn't really cast it immediately after he was popping out of that Cocoon. So many things were going well for SPT, and unfortunately for BTG, so many things were not going right for them. Meantime, the Dragon Knight is leading the charge, trying to set this keep on fire. Let's see if they can do it. It is still relatively early into this game. 12 minutes and 45 seconds. Here comes another temporal loop. The sound barrier is good this time. This could be exactly what BTG needs to make a hold right now. Let's see if they have what it takes to do so. The keep is falling dangerously low. Hello, Tetra. How's it going, my man?
I have had to literally redo everything to try and make anything work, and currently my camera's not showing up, but it's fine at this point. Hello, game.
How's it going? Good to see you, my man. It is
not
good.
Well. Let's manage. 11, fine. In sync. Cool. Let's go.
Let's go. We have seen some admirable teamwork by SPT, by the way, Tetra. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what happened here. Great interrupts on Lucio for the most part with the Cocoon, so he was almost never able to get full value of his sound barrier. And of course, the tank players in general by SPT, Soap and Misaka, they've been doing so well at keeping everybody safe. And Chromie's Temper Loop against a non-cleansed team, putting in tons of work.
I did hear the temporal loop while I was redoing as we do see Leoric get taken out, I guess, if anyone is going to die. Good counter kill, though, by BTG from this defensive position.
Yeah, definitely true. This is definitely what they needed. The keep is still alive. That is the most important thing. It is always nice when you kill heroes, even if it's just a Leoric, but the keep is what really mattered here. So they need to be careful now not to get re-engaged on, because every tiny little misstep here could end up in a big punishment in the bottom lane.
Absolutely. Now, we do see SPT, even without Leoric, but he is back very soon, hovering around the area due to Leoric giving them that vision with that ghostly form. In comes the arrow here, the Cocoon on Lucio, so no more sound barrier, and as such, they're able to take down ETC as finally Lucio drops the sound barrier and they try to turn it round.
Soundbear was good, but now it is MJ who's getting focused down. The stun is good, but the damage just doesn't really go through that nicely. ZJZ now holding the front line like an absolute champion. Is he going to keep himself alive, though? Yes, he is. The shield is good. The nerves of steel are even better, but Dancing now getting a little bit too far ahead of himself, but he is saved by Lucio's speed boost right now. And Melody C actually using that destroyed fort from earlier to get himself in a little bit of a better position, and the scattering arrow almost taking out the Tychus there.
Yeah, Tychus barely escaped, but like you said, that little destroyed fork acting as a bit of terrain for Hanzo to jump over. Very cool to see. Good use of the map.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really well done here by SPT. And they were able to destroy that bottom keep as well, because beyond the game, they did have a good fight, no doubt. However, they also took a lot of damage in the process, which means they had to go back and heal. And during that little time window, SPT, they smelled the pie in the oven, and they really destroyed that keep in the bottom lane very quickly. And thanks to a Nubrek, with the Beetles taking over the aggro from forts and structures in general, it is very, very easy to really get those sneaky kills on those structures.
Yes, it is. So, for now, we see Melody C assisting his ally in clearing up the Bruiser camp. BTG responding in kind. They have enough allies around here that if SPT were to raid, it would turn into quite the scuffle, but it would almost certainly guarantee them the camp.
Very true. In the meantime, 20 is around the corner, just around the corner for SPT. And then, of course, you have some heavy hitting talents here, especially on Hanzo. Let's find out, though, if Soap is going to make it out alive.
Soap is able to rave walk back into his base. Chromie continuing to siege down onto the members. She's fully stacked on her Sandblast talent as we were Sandblast level... first level quest, basically, as we did see when they brought up the stats earlier. Uther, by the way, going for the double stacking devotion.
That is very, very true. The Divine Devotion, as you said, providing double armor buffs on targets that receive healing by Uther. So normally we're used to seeing Redemption, which basically gives them another life. But yeah, I think it makes sense if you're preparing your team for the final push, because you take reduced damage from the core even more, and yeah, I'm excited to see how that's going to work out for them.
And if you don't plan on dying yourself, then in theory this should be a very good talent. However, he needs to be so careful because of this around the ETC. Mosh Pit is available. Sound Barrier is available. Look at how grouped up ETG is. There's the Cocoon, immediately pop, fights to disintegrate. ETC in the backline, gets stunned up. The Mosh Pit on an 8-second cooldown. The March of the Black King goes through everyone. Huge Dragon Arrow as we see the entirety of ETG zoned against the keep. As the Dragon takes down the core.
Misaka was playing cat and mouse with CJZ. I think the Divine Shield actually didn't land on the right target because Lyric was still almost full health, but it didn't matter in the end. The Dragon Knight was too much of a powerhouse for them to keep in check. And SPT, the super perfect team, they take game number 1 without really breaking a big sweat here. However,